So, Ambassador, you started your mandate in Romania at the beginning of February. The U.S. Embassy was always a strong supporter of Romanian democracy, of democracy in general, of the rule of law and the freedom of press. In this light, could you talk about the priorities of your mandate here regarding these particular topics?
Sure, of course. And first of all, let me say I'm just delighted to be back in Romania again after 15 years and very excited to work on what is a very close and productive bilateral relationship. So for my mandate, three key priorities. The first, of course, is security, and that involves security in terms of countering Russian aggression in the neighborhood against Ukraine in this horrific war that they've begun, in bolstering our military cooperation, deterrence, bolstering cooperation within NATO and bilaterally in terms of our presence here in the region. You know that we have increased the number of U.S. troops here as part of the NATO cooperation. So first and foremost, security. Second, trade and investment. I'm glad to say that we have a very robust presence in terms of U.S. companies here, $5 billion in trade, and over 100,000 jobs that have been created thanks to U.S. companies and investments here. So in that area, working to help U.S. companies that are interested in investing, promoting trade between our countries, and also very important and related to this, improving rule of law, transparency, because companies will come and invest when they see a system where there is transparency, where there is accountability, where there is rule of law. So that's very important. And as part of that, working especially in the area of energy, which will contribute again to security and to energy independence and diversification in Romania, as well as the region, because certainly Romania is a leader when it comes to energy independence. And then third, democracy, which has the underpinning of everything else that we do. And for any democracy, one is always working to strengthen the democracy, particularly in the area of rule of law, freedom of the press, ensuring, again, it's back to that same issue. You need to have rule of law and accountability for business to work well, for citizens to feel that they have justice in their country. Recently, there was I saw a lot of commentary about a case that was dismissed relating to the collective tragedy. And again, you can see there that citizens expect and want to see a rule of law system that functions effectively and where they see justice being delivered. So security, trade and investment, and democracy.
Because you were talking about security issues, especially in the context of the war of Russia against Ukraine, there was an announcement by the U.S. president at the beginning of this year that about the reinforcement and of U.S. troops in Romania. Is there a timeline about that? Is there a timeline related to bringing more U.S. troops into Romania?
Well, currently we have, I think, over 3,000 U.S. troops, and at the moment we have the 101st Battalion, which is here in country. They will be leaving shortly, but they will be replaced by the 10th Mountain Brigade. So that will, I think, bring it to something more or less equivalent to what it is now. But certainly there will be more troops coming and going during this period, and we will be constantly evaluating the need for additional troops. As you know, we are part of NATO, and other countries, especially the French, have increased their presence as well. So we will be working together with the allies to determine, where we need to strengthen further our defenses and our deterrence.
Also, when it comes to the relations between Romania and the United States, we can also talk about military acquisitions. And generally, the major military acquisitions that were made by Romania from the United States was in the format of government to government. What is what's the estimation regarding this kind of acquisitions for the future?
Well, I don't have a specific number to cite. Just let me say that as a NATO member, Romania is committed to modernizing its defense capability. So purchases that it makes all go to making Romania a stronger and more prepared member of NATO. And of course, when we can offer systems that are help reinforce that capability, we're happy to do so. And there are a number of systems that are being purchased that will be delivered in the coming months. But the main thing here, I think, is that the systems improve Romania's readiness and capability within NATO, and that allows us as a collective defense organization to present a stronger and more credible deterrent for defense purposes in the region.
When you said systems that will be purchased in the coming months, could you elaborate on that? Is it?
There are a number of systems that have been ordered. There are F-16s, for instance, that are coming. There are other systems that will be provided in terms of air defense. I don't have, I'm sorry, I don't have a list with me here, but yes.
Because there's, in the public space, there was information regarding the interest of Romania to purchasing tanks, Abrams tanks from the United States of America.
Yeah. So this is, again, part of this whole improving the defense capability, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to the U.S. is a strong supporter, is the #1 supporter of Ukraine, and is actually providing weapons and talking with European countries regarding the providing weapons to Ukraine. How do you see Romania's role in this link of helping Ukraine militarily?
Yeah. Well, Romania, first of all, I recently, you may know, I went to Rome Expo on the anniversary of the, terrible anniversary of the first year of this awful war. And there I met with Romanian refugees and with, Ukrainian refugees who have fled the war. I met with the UNHCR and other UN organizations and NGOs that have been helping the refugees. I think Romania has played a very important role in helping with the humanitarian response and the spirit of empathy and generosity of spirit that Romanians have shown to their neighbors has been exemplary. This is what I've heard from many of the refugees with whom I spoke, that they were so well received here. So, first and foremost, I think Romania is to be commended for its willingness to help those refugees. And also, I want to mention the great cooperation between civil society and the Romanian government. This is a textbook example, I think, of why civil society organizations are so important and how they can work effectively with government, particularly in a time of crisis. Romania has also been really helpful in terms of helping with grain shipments out of Ukraine, which is important not only to Ukraine, but also to the world as a whole because of all the grain that Ukraine produces that goes to the third world. There were concerns, I think, early on about impact on world hunger. Romania played a key role in making sure those grain shipments got out, acted very quickly. So that also was incredibly important. Energy has been another area. So I think Romania has played a great role in terms of support to Ukraine during this period. I've heard from many Ukrainian refugees how much they've appreciated the support. and how it has really transformed their view of Romania for the better, for a much, I think the future Romania and Ukraine will, I imagine, become much closer because of all of these people-to-people ties and all of these new trade ties. And I think as Ukraine moves to join the EU, there will be many opportunities in terms of reconstruction, cooperation, deepening of ties. So just I want to commend the Romanian government and the people for the great response during this terrible tragedy.
The situation in Ukraine made the need for a Black Sea strategy even more stringent. And Romania is contributing to this, is contributing to the draft of this Black Sea strategy, which is being written in Washington. Could you talk about the contribution that Romania had to this? Because, of course, there's Romania, but there are also
Yes.
other countries around the Black Sea. And
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned, I mean, I think the war has shown it's highlighted the importance of the Black Sea region in a way that, unfortunately, you know, the war has made it even more important. But it's always been important. So, but this has highlighted the need for cooperation in the region. In Washington, as you indicated, Congress has been very interested in seeing us have develop a strategy in partnership, of course, with the countries in the region to look at such issues as freedom of navigation, defense and deterrence, sharing of information, economic development. So there is an effort in the U.S. government right now to increase the focus on these issues, and certainly in coordination with Congress, which has requested and instructed more focus on this area. So that's what's going on, and of course we were in contact with our partners about this. Secretary of State Blinken spoke earlier this week to Foreign Minister Aurescu, and this was one of the topics they discussed. We will be having the 8th edition of our strategic dialogue with Romania. There's a delegation coming next week to Bucharest. Again, that's another topic that will be touched upon. So this is ongoing at the moment.
Will there, such a strategy, will it be available by the time Romania will host the 3 Seas initiative in September?
It's hard for me to say exactly, but I would imagine so.
Because President Biden said 2 years ago that the U.S. is a strong partner of this summit.
Yes, and this is something again where I think Romania has shown great leadership in supporting and developing this idea of the 3 Seas initiative. The U.S. has been a strong partner. There's a lot that can be done to link the region through infrastructure, economic cooperation, and we are very much behind this and look forward to the summit that's upcoming this year that Romania will host.
Given the current situation, how much of the summit do you think will focus on security more than on economics?
I suppose you know, that will play a big role, but I think as we see it, the 3 Cs strategy is takes a very long-term perspective. These are about you know, issues of transportation, communication, infrastructure. So while the security situation certainly is a big component, I think this has there's a much longer-term view as well of linking you know, the north to the south and making sure there's a corridor of cooperation and economic prosperity along that corridor.
Coming back to domestic issues in Romania, when it comes to the relationship between the U.S. and Romania, Romanians always think about the visa waivers situation. They want to travel freely in the United States, but it's a question of mathematics in the end. But do you have a message for Romanians regarding this? as an ambassador?
As an
Or,
ambassador, well, let me just say this is something I would very much like to see happen, and I'm committed to working with the Romanian government on this. Again, it will be a topic in our strategic dialogue, but of course, more important than that is the fact that we're working together, our experts are working together on some of the technical parts of the program that involve passports, that involve border issues. And as you mentioned, there's a mathematics issue which has to do with the refusal rate. But having looked at other countries that have joined and the path that they've chosen, I think I'm pretty confident that there's a path forward to make progress in these areas. So I'm hopeful that we will be able to achieve something during my mandate.
because Romanian authorities were talking about a particular campaign regarding the visa waiver, like awareness campaign.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think it helps people who to make sure that there are more visas issued than refusals, you know, helping with information about how to have a successful visa application, how to avoid the pitfalls of, you know, not providing sufficient information, understanding. It's very important to understand what visas do allow you to do and not do. For example, you know, on a tourist visa, you can't work in the United States. You have to have a different kind of visa. So just sharing that information with the public so that the applications that do come in are successful, I think that will help bring the refusal rate down.
You were talking about the strategic dialogue that is soon to happen in Bucharest. One of the most important bilateral deals made by Romania with the US is regarding the small modular reactors. Is there a timeline? When will they be ready?
Yeah. So we signed, I think, in 2020, a cooperation agreement on civilian nuclear issues, and I think this is a very exciting development in our relationship, both in terms of helping with renovation and expansion of Cernavodă, and also in terms of this exciting new technology, small modular reactors, which, by the way, is all over the world is attracting a huge interest in Europe and Asia. So this is an area, again, in the energy field where I think Romania can be a leader. However, it is a project that will take several years to develop. I understand something by the end of the decade, 2028, 2029, something thereabouts. In the shorter term, there will soon be a SMR simulator that is will be in operation at Bucharest Polytechnic University for training purposes, for students, for scientists, for engineers, to learn the technology, to understand the operations. Also may serve as a center for other people from the region who are interested in this technology. But what is exciting about this is safer, greener, more scalable way of using nuclear energy, which in a world that's looking for non-carbon sources of energy can make a huge difference. So we're excited to be partnering with Romania to support your interest in this technology and the ability to create probably 8,000 new jobs in this sector. I think will be you know, a valuable contribution.
Will the current energy crisis speed things up when it comes to SMRs?
I mean, I think, you know, I think we're seeing a lot of interest in alternative sources of energy right now, and so there is a real rush, I think, to look for solar, for wind, for hydro. There's a lot of room for more investment in all of these areas, but certainly I think the energy crisis has increased the interest and the focus on nuclear as well.
On a more personal note, you started your mandate. Actually, you came back to this part of the world. So I wanted to ask you, and if you want, you can answer in Romanian. There's this discussion that there's a difference between the Western personality, the Western soul, and the Eastern soul. What was the greatest culture shock that you had when you went to Eastern Europe for the first time or the second time? Or
Ok, o să încerc să vorbesc puțin în limba română, dar nu știu dacă pot să răspund 100% în limba română. O să încerc. Eu nu văd o diferență mare între cultura sau anima, cum se... sufletul. Cred că peste tot oamenii sunt la fel, avem poate tradiții diferite, dar cred că suntem foarte similare și n-am simțit o diferență foarte mare aici când am venit, dar am simțit o ospitalitate foarte călduroasă aici. Copiii au simțit, copiii noștri au simțit foarte bine aici. Fiica mea a mers la grădiniță în limba română. Am învățat foarte mult despre cultura românească și am călătorit foarte mult ca atașatul cultural și de asemenea cu familia. Am viajat peste tot și ne-am bucurat foarte mult aici și din acest motiv sunt foarte fericită să fiu din nou în România și sper să am posibilitate de a călători foarte mult, de a ne întâlnesc cu prietenii de atunci și să facem prietenii noi în mandatul meu.
And now this is the last question, because we were talking during the interview about Romanians who want to go to the United States of America. What would you tell Americans? Why should they come to Romania?
I think, you know, this is such a beautiful country. There's so much to see, and I think people are so warm and open here, and I know many of my friends want to come now that they know I'm here. What I would say to Romanians is, you know, I think it's worth your while to help share information about the country, encourage friends to come, and let people know more about Romania, because I think there is a lot of interest when people learn. There's a very popular show on Netflix right now called Wednesday, and it is increasing interest in Romania because people have found that it was filmed here, and a lot of people I know are asking, who maybe didn't know anything about Romania, are asking me about Romania now. So I think there's a lot of potential to expand tourism, so I would encourage Romanians to welcome friends abroad to come here.